all. Welcome to the presentation Tulips to Turmeric Lessons Learned from a Global Team. This is Korean Air, the largest airlines in South Korea. Last year, they got a 5-star rating from Skytrax. And if you look at the history of Korean Air, this wasn't the case always. In the early 90s, Korean Air faced multiple air crashes. Most of them were very fatal. And due to safety concerns, many airlines stopped booking tickets with Korean Air. Let's take a look at one particular incident. Korean Air Flight 801, which crashed in 1997, resulted in the death of 228 passengers. Let's take a look at what happened exactly. A series of misfortunes, including bad weather, an offline warning system, outdated charts, and the co-pilot was afraid to question the poor judgment of the pilot. If you need to know why, we need to look into the Korean culture, where hierarchy is deeply rooted. In Korea, a junior is not expected to question a senior. That's what happened here. The poor co-pilot knows that the pilot is doing something wrong, but he was afraid to question. After this incident, Korean Air made many changes, including incorporating a cultural training for their pilots. We can learn a lot from Korean Air, and in IT, we often overlook the impact of culture on our teams, which can diversely affect our performance and happiness of the teams. Who am I? I'm a Java chapter lead at ABN AMRO. I'm originally from India and now lives in Teal. And I have been working with multicultural teams for past 8 years. I like Java, cycling, and burger. So if you want to connect with me, these are the topics. In this talk, I'm going to explain the impact of culture on all these different points. Don't worry, I'll make it fast. And at the end of each session, I will explain the tips to overcome those impact. First, take a look at the first one, communication. Who can read Japanese here? Anybody? Great, I cannot also. Okay. In Japan, every year they vote for a new best word. And this was one of the words selected few years back, and it is called Kuki Yamunai, or KY. What it means, one who cannot read the air. So in Japan, when you are communicating some messages, they always do it without saying them. It's part of their culture. They don't do it knowingly, they do it unknowingly. So if you are in a meeting in Tokyo, you need to assess the situation to see what's happening there. And if you are not doing it or not able to do it, then you are a KY or a Kuki Yamunai. So next time, if you are in Japan, don't be a KY. Now let's take a look at different type of communication. First one, low context communication. Let's start with an example. When I was planning to come to Netherlands, I started learning a little bit of language and culture. And when I was learning, my teacher told me, Rijo, if you are lucky enough to get invited to a Dutch home, and if somebody is asking you this question, do you need a cookie? Always take one. Don't go for two. I said, why? Because it's in the question. Do you need a cookie? Do you need a single cookie? That's what low context communication is. You don't need to understand anything other than that sentence to find the meaning of it. Let's look at the next one, high context communication. If you are in India and if you are visiting one of your friends or family, you can, trust me, you don't need an invitation. You can go in and don't do it at the president's house. Okay. And when you are there, the host will definitely ask you, are you hungry? Then even if you are starving, you need to say, I'm not hungry. And then it's a host responsibility to find it out whether you are hungry or not. The funny part here, the person who said, I'm not hungry, end up eating all this. That is what high context communication is. You need to understand the entire situation to know the meaning. Now let's look at how this will impact our daily work life. Few years back, when I was working in a project, my product owner went and asked one of my Indian colleague, "Hey, will you be able to finish this on this Friday?" Say something. My Indian colleague said, "Yes, I will try." Dutch product owner said, "Okay, that's good. Let's take a look what my Indian friend said. Yes, I will try. That means I will try, but it's difficult and it's not going to happen on Friday." What the product owner understood, yes, he will do it. One more thing. We all like retrospective, right? I have a friend who is even scared of sticky notes now because of the retros. Coming to our story, this is shared by one of the Java community members. Their team is working in a distributed model, and half of the team is working in Netherlands, and half is working in India. So they are doing a retro, and the theme of retro is weather. And the Scrum Master created two columns. First column is sunny weather, and second column is rainy weather. And they have to put their stickies based on the last sprint's feeling. So all the Dutch colleagues put their points on sunny weather, and all the Indian colleagues put it on rainy weather. Scrum Master was surprised. Okay, this is little strange. Let me ask. He went and checked with the Indian colleagues. Hey, what happened? What went wrong with the last sprint? The Indian colleague said they were even more surprised. What? No, nothing happened. That last sprint was the best sprint. Okay, then why you put your points on rainy weather? Hey boss, we are living in Chennai. It's 40 to 45 degrees Celsius here. And if it's rainy, it's the best day for us. So you need to understand that. Now let's a little bit take a look at how countries are divided here. You can already see US, Germany, UK, Netherlands, they are in low contest communication. And Japan, China, Kenya, they are on high contest communication style. There are more countries, but I want to put some little on the scale. Here, the important thing you need to understand, a position of country is always relative. For example, if you are comparing Netherlands with India, Netherlands is low contest and India is high contest. But at the same time, if you are comparing India with Japan, India is low contest and Japan is high contest. Now let's take a look what are the tips to work with high contest cultures. Practice listening more carefully. Let's look at the example of product owner. What product owner, when my Indian colleague said, yes, I will try, that's product owner only listen to the first part, yes, and skip the last. So practice listening carefully. Then you might have more questions or clarification after that. You need to understand no can come in many forms. It might be a gesture, it might be a node, maybe a sentence. I will tell you an example. One of my friend, he's working in China and he's in a shipping industry, and he went and checked with his friend or colleague, hey, will you be able to work on this Saturday? The Chinese colleague said, yes, I can. And then my Indian friend said, okay, that's great, that's good. Then the Chinese friend added, but it's also an important day for me. It's my daughter's birthday and we are having a party. Okay, my Indian friend said, that's nice, that's good. Then they went. My Indian friend thought the Chinese guy will come and work on that day because he said, yes, he will come. But what Chinese actually meant, that person actually meant is, because it's an important day for him, he cannot come. He said it indirectly there. So you need to identify clearly that no can come in many forms when you are working with a high context cultures. Always try to ask open-ended questions. Instead of asking, will you be able to do it on this day? Then you are cornering that person to give an yes or no answer. Instead of that, how difficult is for you to do it on Friday? Then you are giving an open-ended question where a more bigger explanation will be there and you will get a clear picture more. don't form opinions too quickly. I have seen people forming opinions. Okay, we started working with this country, and they are not good. They are not working properly. They are not communicating properly. They don't stick to the deadline. So don't form those opinions too quickly. It might be a cultural issue. You might not be understanding them properly. Now, let's look at some tips for working with low context cultures. Always be specific, transparent, and clear. That's it. Simple. Always ask for clarification. If you don't understand something, don't assume, just ask. Next one. Always try to recap all the points after a meeting. Do it verbally or do it in writing. If you are ever worked with anybody from UK or any UK meetings, this is very common there. They always do it after a meeting. And if you do it in India, if I do it, they will say, I'm not a kid, don't do it. But always try to do it when you're working with a low context person. And for all the people who are working with low context cultures, don't be polite all the time. I have seen people being too polite and misunderstood. So don't do that. Just be yourself. Now let's look at the next point, time management. How late is late? Imagine you have a meeting at 9 o'clock in office and you had a very bad morning. You overslept, you had a bad traffic, so you realize that you will reach office little late for the meeting, say 9 to 10 minutes. Will you make a call and tell that you will be late? How many of you think you will make a call? Almost everybody. But there are also hands down. So if you ask me, it totally depends on which country you are in. If you are in Netherlands, Germany, or UK, you will make a call. You need to make a call. Even if you are late by 1 minute, it's considered to be late. If you are in France, southern Italy, you will always have a buffer time of 15 minutes. So if you are within that buffer time, you don't need to make a call. And if you are in India, Turkey, I can see people are laughing there. You don't need to make a call. It's totally fine to be late by 1 hour. Now let's see how different cultures are looking at the time. Flexible time cultures. Let's give an example. My friend, one of my Indian friend who is in India, he's looking for a new job, and he went for an interview. He's going for an interview. He went there by train, and he is late, obviously. And he went inside. The interviewer asked him, "Hey, why are you late?" And my Indian friend told, "My punctuality depends on Indian Railway." That's true. In India, a lot of things are so unpredictable. Even if you start very early, there is no guarantee that you will be there on time. Even if it's public transport or your own vehicle, there are a lot of uncertainties around it. When I was working in Chennai, that's somewhere in south of India, and my home is 16 hours by train. So I tried to do it on the weekends, and my train is supposed to reach on a Monday morning 7:30. What I will do, I will clear my entire agenda for that day because I have no guarantee what time I will reach office. One more thing, I will do it now. I will do it now. If you ask me, yeah, I don't see much difference here. Obviously, there is a second now, obviously. But if I put it in Word, then probably the autocorrect will correct me or tell me that there is an additional now. But if you are in Botswana, a southern African country, this makes a lot of sense. If somebody says, I will do it now in Botswana, they are not going to do it. And they will only do it when they say, I will do it now. That's what flexible time. Now let's look at linear time culture. This is Amersfoort. I like Amersfoort because of two reasons. One, it's a small little town. Second, that's a place I first lived. So when I came to Netherlands, I came on a Sunday evening or evening, and next day morning, Monday morning, I need to be in Utrecht office. So I was looking at the internet and I found that there is a bus nearby, and I can catch it on 8:23. So on 8:23, and if I catch that bus, I will be in office on right time. So next morning, I went to the bus stop. I was waiting for the bus. Bus didn't come. Then somehow later I reached office and then I was talking to my desk colleagues. They told me that if a bus scheduled for 8:23, it will be in 8:20. It will be there in 8:23, not 8:25 or 8:30. It took some time for me to digest it. How that is possible? If the bus is starting from that location, it's possible. I cannot imagine it will be on time on an intermediate stop. That's what linear time is. Here, time is scheduled and there is always a fixed schedule for it. Like there won't be any delay. Uh, let's look at how different countries are arranged. Linear time. Usual suspects are there. US, Germany, Netherlands, UK, they are all in the linear time. And India, Kenya, China, Turkey, they are on the flexible time. Here a difference is Japan moved to a linear time. And I heard that Japan works with a precision of 2 seconds. So yeah, I don't know exactly. Let's connect after lunch. This is something I started hearing after Corona. But the problem here is when we say this, let's connect after lunch. My Dutch colleague expect me to be back in 15 minutes. Do you know how much time it will take to make an Indian lunch? It will take an hour. And how much time it will take for a Dutch sandwich? 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and if you're making a really fancy one, 10 minutes. And eating it. You can eat that sandwich at your desk when you're walking or even biking. I don't recommend it. My shoulder is still recovering. Try doing it with an Indian curry and let me know how it went. So next time, when you tell, let's connect after lunch, you don't expect your Indian colleague to be back in 1 hour. Tips for time management. Time management is actually the easiest one to fix. Here, you can always switch your style. Like that's what I did when I first came. First day, I was late for the bus and I realized, okay, here bus always goes on time. So next day, I switched my style and I was able to catch the bus. But this won't work if you are really working with multicultural teams. When you are working with multicultural teams, try to make a team culture or team contract. For example, when you are starting a team, gather everybody and tell, okay, our meetings will schedule like this. So maybe our dailies will start at 9, and the maximum buffer time is 5 or 10 minutes. It depends up to you, and make it little fun also. If you are late, if you are not in that buffer time, you need to buy coffee or lunch for everybody. So that will work. Once there is a team contract or agreement, it will definitely work. Now the next one. Stop calling each other inefficient. My German friend always complains to me, Rijo, how you are working in India without a schedule. He cannot imagine that. And when my father came from India to here, he was complaining about our fixed schedules. You have an appointment at 9, you have an appointment at 6. Both works. Both ways works. If one works for you, it's good. Don't call each other inefficient. Let's take a look at the next point. Hierarchy. How are you? Have you ever asked your Indian colleagues, how are you? Okay, great. I know that 99% of time you will get a fixed answer, I'm fine, thank you. I was also doing that for a long time. Then I was thinking why I'm doing this. It went to my school days. Okay, English is not my mother tongue. So my English teacher, when she was teaching us, she told us when somebody asks, how are you? You need to tell, I'm fine, thank you. What a stupid thing it is. If somebody is asking you, how are you? You need to say what you're feeling, not a fixed answer. But at that time, the Indian culture where teachers are really considered to be high in the hierarchical state, like parents, we always yeah, never ask a question why we need to do that. So I also did that. I went, I learned that. I was doing it for a long time. Same in China. If you are in China and the boss is always true, even if he's wrong, he's always true. That's how yeah, hierarchy works. And let's take a deeper look. Hierarchical versus egalitarian culture. Example, hierarchical example. In ABN AMRO, we work with many of our partner companies. They are in different countries, including India. So last year or this year, early this year, I was fortunate enough to visit one of our partner office. Before going there, one of my colleague told me, Rijo, try wearing a suit. Okay, I thought, why? I always wear casual to office, and I was also a little bit overconfident that I know culture a lot. So I thought, I don't want. I'm not going to wear anything. I'm doing this casuals here, and I'm going to do the same in India. So we went to India with my Dutch colleagues. First day, we went to the office, our partner office. Everything was fine. We went inside. We had a great connect with our Indian colleagues. We came back. Next day morning, I went to the office without my Dutch colleagues. I went in front of the office and there is a security. Like there are also physical security present there with some yeah, some weapons, I would say, scary things. I went there and one guy, I was walking inside and he told, stop. Where are you going? I said, I'm going inside. And he said, why you are going inside? Hey, I said, I'm a client. I came from Netherlands. He was, okay. Yeah. What else you can tell? He cannot believe. I'm not complaining. He's doing his job. He's doing his job, and he was telling me he cannot imagine that a client coming from Netherlands looking like me wearing a casuals. No, that then I realized why my friend told me, Rijo, wear a suit. That's how hierarchy works in India. This is an example of egalitarian culture. Egalitarian culture is where everybody is considered as same, equal, or it's a flat structure always. Let me tell you this example. This is important. When I first came to Netherlands with my wife, we need to go to a municipality, Gemende, if I'm pronouncing it correct. We need to register ourselves there. So we were a little scared. We need to have a set of documents. We were a little scared there because in India, experiences in India. So we were looking out, okay, do we have all the documents? Yes, we have all the documents. But then we went inside. Immediately we have an appointment. So immediately that person came in, the officer came out and welcomed us, offered us coffee. And he started looking at our documents very calmly. And he was taking photocopies. And at the end of that meeting, he shared that he said, oh, you guys are new. So I will show you some things where you can go and do and enjoy in Netherlands. So that was shocking for us to be treated equal. That's what egalitarian culture is. In Germany, Netherlands, Sweden, it's always like in Denmark it says boss is always a person who is two step away from the janitor. It's always same there. Now let's take a look how different countries are divided. I put some out. Netherlands, Denmark, they are all on the egalitarian culture. UK, US, and Japan, Korea, China, they are on the hierarchical structure. And here, I will tell you some more thing. In China, Korea, or Japan, if you are going to a meeting, you need to shake hands with the boss first. If you are not doing that, you won't be there for the next meeting. And same happens if you are hosting a dinner or something. You need to arrange the seating according to the rankings. Can you imagine doing it in Netherlands? I don't think so. Now let's take a look how we can work with egalitarian culture. You can always go to the directly to the source. So if you want to talk with somebody, like a CEO or to a janitor, you can always reach them. There is no barrier in between them. You can always go. And when you're sending an email, you don't need to copy their boss. You can always send an email directly. No need to copy the boss. Some places, like in example in Denmark, if you're copying the boss, the person will think that he's not you are not trusting him properly, that copying the boss with it. And it's okay to skip levels. For example, if somebody tells me and you can go to the office on your CEO's car, I won't believe it in India. It's not going to happen. But it's possible here. If your CEO owns a car, it's possible you can go here to office. Now, what are the tips for working with hierarchical cultures? First, go to the person at your level. So this always works when you are working with a partner company. You if you are a manager, you need to talk to the manager in your partner company. Don't go the level up or level down. Always keep that. You need to copy the boss there. When you are working with a hierarchical culture country, you need, when you are sending an email to somebody, you need to copy your boss and their boss. It's always important. And whatever you do, don't skip the levels. It's not going to end up right. Now, we are moving to the almost end, not end, but decision making. Let's look at how different countries make their decision. Decision with a capital letter D and decision with a small letter d. Let's take a look. What is that? First one, decision with a capital letter D. In this, we start an idea, we start discussing on it. We keep on discussing on it. We involve everybody, get the feedback of everybody, and at one point of time, we make a decision. After that, there is no discussions. It's only implementation. How many of you are working on this method? Few. Oh, that's good. This is called a decision with D. This is also called consensual decision making. That means you are involving a group to make a decision. Next one, decision with a small letter d. This is, you have an idea or a proposal, you make a decision fairly quickly, mostly made by the boss. And then you start implementation immediately. When you're doing the implementation, the discussion again starts and you find new things and then you find more things. This decision changes. That's what a decision with small letter d. This is mainly top-down decision making. I know there are teams working on that also. Now let's take a look how the countries are divided. Netherlands, Germany are in consensual. I know Germans are really into that. In Netherlands, I see a little bit of skip here and there. But Germans, when you work with Germans, they want everybody to be added in that group discussion, and they want to have a final decision with a capital D. Then China, India, they are on the top-down decision making. Like usually, boss will make a decision, and you start implementing it. Here there are two exceptions. One is Japan. If you remember the last part, Japan is a hierarchical country, but their decision making is consensual. They make decision with a group. I will tell you how in a second. And another example is US. If you ever work with a US company, they know that decision is made by the boss, and they immediately start implementing it, and then they do discussions. And when we talk with them, they were actually thinking, oh, how you are involving everybody to make the decision. That's surprise for them, US. Now let's go back to Japan. Japan is, I told earlier, Japan is a hierarchical country, but their decision making is also consensual, highly consensual. That is called Japanese ringi system. Let's take a look. This is a structure of a company in Japan, where the company is divided into multiple structures. First one, you have the boss, then the intermediate managers, and a set of other managers. So if you have a discussion, or if you are planning to make something, the discussion starts at the lower level. So somebody write it down. Traditionally, it's done by paper. Now we are doing it with uh, digital way also. So what they will do, they'll write it down and they pass it to the other person in the same group, and they will take their feedback. They look into it. Okay, this is nice. I don't like this. They change it and they keep on rotating it until they have a decision in that level. Once they have that decision, what they will do, they will put their sign on there and pass it to the next round level. In that level, they do it again. So the one person look into that document, they put their feedback, and they again circulate it there. Once those level made and discussion decision, they move it to the higher level. That is mainly the CEO or the owner of the company. He is the one who makes the final decision. Once he made the decision, yeah, decision is final, and they will go into a meeting room and just say, okay, this is what discussed. Everybody is agreed. They saved all the meetings, and they are done. So this is how they do it, hierarchical at the same concept, consensual. It's an interesting thing to look into it. Now, let's look at how we work with consensual decision making. You always need to expect a longer processing time. Like the decision will made by involving the entire everybody, entire team. So it will take more time. And you always need to show commitment and patience. For example, in Sweden, if they want to make a decision, they will send you an email. Hey, we are going to do this. What's your opinion on it? They'll send it to everybody, and you cannot say I'm not involved, I don't think, I am going to reply. I'm not going to reply. That don't work. They will wait for your reply. They need everybody to be answered. That's how you showing your patience and commitment is important. Next one, try to make some informal contracts when you are working with consensual decision making. That will help you to be involved in decision making more. Don't push for quick decision. Like if you are coming from a top down decision making country like US, you always have that eagerness to say like, okay, let's make the decision fast. It's taking more time, let's do it fast. Don't do that. Don't do it if you are in Germany or Netherlands. Wait for the process to finish. That's okay. Wait for the process to finish. So it will, don't push for a quick decision. Now let's take at the tips. Look at the tips for working with top-down decision making. So this is important when you are working in Japan or China, where you decision is made by the boss without consulting them. You need to expect that. You don't like, for example, if you are working in Germany and suddenly switching to US or China, then you don't expect them to make a decision by involving you. It's not going to happen. The boss will make a decision first, and you need to be ready to follow the decision made by the boss, even if you are not consulted. You need to make the decisions quickly. So this is how, if you are a boss, even if you are a successful boss in Germany or Sweden, and you are moving to a promotion with a promotion to US or China, you cannot do your consensual decision making there. You need to make decisions strongly and quickly. Otherwise, you will be considered as an inefficient boss. Always remain flexible. Don't be stubborn. Like we made a decision and I will always stick with that. Don't do that in a top down decision making. Decision with a small letter D, which can always change. Now, let's go to the last point, feedback. Especially negative feedback. Who likes to give negative feedback? Only one. A few, okay. Who likes to receive negative feedback? Okay, more people. That's good. But still, there are people. I know. I know. Even if we say it's a constructive feedback, we need it. But it's not always a nice thing to hear and give. So I can help you here. I will let you know. I will help you how we can give a constructive or negative feedback in a better way. First, we need to look into what are the different feedback styles. First one is direct feedback. Direct feedback is always provided frankly and honestly. And you can identify direct feedback by the type of words used in that feedback. For example, the linguistics called it upgraders. I will give you that. This is absolutely inappropriate. You can always say this is inappropriate, but you put an absolutely there. This is totally unprofessional. This absolutely and totally they are called upgraders. When you are working with a direct feedback culture, they always use these words as an upgrader. There are all you if you listen carefully, you can identify it. A slap on the face. When I started working with Dutch colleagues, it's my first time in Netherlands, and I went to a meeting room in somewhere in Netherlands. So one of my Dutch colleague, he's sharing a story or something which his idea, and one of the other Dutch colleague, he was not impressed by it. He started objecting it, and they started into a heated discussion. Okay, I was looking at it very scared. Okay, when I was looking at these words used all over the place, I was thinking, I was worried about the team now, because I think what I am thinking at that time is, okay, this is going to affect our team dynamics because these are the two pillars of our team, and they are starting fighting each other. Okay, somehow we finished the phase, finished that meeting, and we went down for lunch. Then I saw these two guys, the guys who were fighting just before that lunch time. They were talking happily, sharing their vacation stories. Oh man, that's how I realized that sometimes a Dutch direct feedback can be a slap on your face. But it's just a feedback. That's called direct feedback. That's an example of direct feedback. Now let's take a look at what's indirect feedback. Indirect feedback is usually provided softly, and we can identify it by the downgraders. That's what linguistic term for it. I will give an example. This is just my opinion. We are not quite there yet. So if you listen to somebody giving feedback, and if you find that the just, not quite, kind of, sort of, those words are used, those are called downgraders, and is usually used in indirect feedback. Again, let's look at an example. The British, in my opinion, British are the kings of indirect feedback. Okay, this is an audio of a PA announcement. It's not the original one. It's a recreated one, and this is from the Captain Eric Moody of a British Airways captain. Let's listen to it first. Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. We have a small problem. All four engines have stopped. We're all doing our damnedest to get them going again. I trust you're not in too much distress.
Let's listen it to once more. Okay, let's listen it carefully.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. We have a small problem. All four engines have stopped. We're all doing our damnedest to get them going again. I trust you're not in too much distress.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. All four engines have stopped. We have a small problem. This is four engine failure on a cruising altitude. Okay, and this is a great captain. He eventually managed to land by gliding, and he saved everybody. But the thing is, what he told is, we have a small problem. That's how you downgrade situation. Now, Anglo-Dutch translation guide. This is something flying all around the internet. It's a nice thing to see. I really like it. So this is divided into three parts. What British says, what the British mean, and what the Dutch understood. Let's take a look. With all due respect. And what British mean, I think you are wrong. And what Dutch understood, he's listening to me. That's good. Next one. Very interesting. And what British mean by that? I don't like it. What Dutch understand? He is impressed. Last one. I'm sure that it's my fault. What British mean? It's not my fault. It's your fault. What Dutch understand? It's his fault. Okay. Don't be that poor Dutch guy. Don't be like that. It's a long list of things. It's available in internet. I can also share it later, but it's fun to see. Now, let's look at the different feedback, how countries are divided. You can already see Netherlands, Germany, France, India, Japan, China. They are on the indirect negative feedback. Here you see UK went to that side. UK, when coming to feedback, especially negative feedback, UK always they try to make it soft. Like we said, examples we said earlier. Also in US, they're called, if you need to give a negative feedback, you need to start with two positive things. This happened to the Dutch guys who went there and start working with the US client. They only listen to the first two good points and they ignore the last negative point. And that's actually what the US want to say. Now let's look at the tips for working with direct feedback. Always take the feedback literally and yeah, literally. You don't worry about it. Take it literally, and consider that it's a sign of honesty and transparency. When a direct feedback person is giving you a feedback, it can be a slap on your face, but take it as it is. It's just a transparent. They are being transparent, and whatever you do, if you are not from a direct feedback culture, don't try to be like them. This happened to me when I came from Netherlands, India to Netherlands. So there is a thin line between doing it right and being rude. So if you are not from that native culture, there is a high chance that you will overdo it and you will sound rude. And if you want to try it, only try to give one upgrader. Don't use multiple upgraders. Now let's look at the tips for working with indirect feedback cultures. Give negative feedback privately. Always give negative feedback in a private session. If you want to tell feedback to somebody from a indirect feedback culture, call them, make a private call with them, and share the feedback. Try to blur the message, like we are not quite there yet, like that. You try to give it a little bit indirectly, and give feedback gradually over the time. Don't give all the feedback immediately. Give something now, give something next week, like that. Give some time to adjust. And you can always use food to distract the negative feedback. Call them for a lunch or coffee or something, or give, maybe no, coffee won't work, food works. Okay, and give the feedback, it will work. Now, we are at the end, don't worry. It's time to test your feedback. Okay, I want to see your feedbacks, how you feedback. It's also important for you guys to see what are you using, which words are you using, an upgrader, are you using a downgrader. It's important to identify where you stand when you are giving a feedback so that you can improve from there. Go to NLJAG app. You try to rate this session. You can always give 5 star. That's non matters. And Go to the feedback session and try to write something. I cannot see it immediately, but I can see it later. I'm curious to see what are the words you are using. Are you using an upgrader, downgrader? So please try to do that, and it's also good for yourself to identify what are you doing. Next one. These are my references. Culture Map, great book. The graphs I had is from Culture Map, and the other books are also really interesting if you are into reading it, or maybe there will be an audio book available. And let's connect. I want to hear your stories. I know that you all have 100 stories like this. I want to hear those stories, and maybe who knows, next presentation I will have your story in. So please let's connect. I will be also here at the ABN booth later, so come to us, talk to us, let's connect. And with that said, thank you. Thank you for listening to me.